There's never a dull moment in the Musk universe, is there? There's a good chance that you woke up this morning, Monday, the 4th of April of 2022, to the news that Elon Musk has purchased a majority stake in Twitter. It's no secret that Elon Musk has been very open about his thoughts about freedom of speech, especially on Twitter, on the platform that he purchased. And Twitter has been criticized in the past by having a little bit too much of an aggressive approach when it comes to banning people, silencing certain folks, or deplatforming certain users. And so this combination is extremely interesting, but what I'd like to do for this video is to figure out why Elon purchased Twitter. One of the things that seemed to be very obvious with how Elon likes to do things is that there's always a bigger reason behind his actions. If you put it within the context of, say, a Tesla or a SpaceX, or even a Boring Company or Neuralink, which are companies that he owns and runs, these companies usually have a much bigger vision or a much broader purpose as to why they exist. Tesla exists to accelerate the advent of electric vehicles and the advent of sustainable energy generation and consumption. SpaceX exists to colonize Mars, ultimately to create a waypoint for humanity to essentially reach the stars, to go beyond planet Earth. Boring Company exists to build tunnels underground to completely alleviate traffic and make the movement of humans from point A to point B as efficient as humanly possible. Neuralink's end goal is to figure out how to make the transfer of information between human to human as efficient and as quick as humanly possible. And even though in this case Elon is not necessarily directly involved with these companies, he is in this case a majority stakeholder. So let's quickly run through the facts behind this purchase and try and figure out where we can go from here. Put up a chart of the largest stakeholders before Elon's purchase of Twitter right on the screen here. As you can see, Vanguard, BlackRock, and SSGA are the largest stakeholders in Tesla before Elon's purchase. Vanguard had an 8.39% stake in Twitter before Elon Musk's purchase. And with Elon's roughly 73.5 million share purchase, this places him at the top of the list with roughly 9.2% stake, which equals to be roughly $3 billion. Within the context of Elon's total net worth, which is a wild fact, this is only 1 to 2% of Elon's total net worth. And so the interesting context here is that Elon was able to gain majority stake in one of the world's largest social media platforms with just 1 to 2% of his net worth. What's really interesting here is that Twitter, as a public company, its ultimate goal is to serve its investors. And now with Elon being the largest stakeholder of the company, this means that Elon's going to have an outsized influence versus the rest of the investors in the company as far as what Twitter should or shouldn't do from an investment perspective. Of course, the other 90% of the board is going to have more influence in total than Elon, but as an individual having almost 10% of the stake, that is a very significant percentage. 10% of the company is unified effectively by Elon being on the board. And how Elon decides to drive consensus with the other 90% of the investors is going to be very interesting to see. And so the question becomes, why did Elon buy such a large stake in Twitter? One of the reasons why could be is that Elon views the freedom of speech issue, especially in the United States, as a very, very important piece for humanity's survival long term. But I don't view this as a pet project for Elon. There's a big reason why he did this. It could be that he thinks that Twitter should be a $500 billion company, and him having a 10% stake allows him to have outsized gains. But Elon doesn't seem like the kind of person that invests in a company just for the sake of raising his net worth or to make more money. There has to be more behind it, which to me tells me that the free flow of information between person to person on a network that's online is ultimately the thing that Elon is going after the most. And even though it's very hard for us to sit down today and figure out what Elon's long-term plans are with his stake in Twitter, his vocal nature about freedom of speech and the flow of information and getting rid of all the bots on Twitter and all the spam folks and everything like that really points towards a direction where Elon views this as a very important thing for humanity. Another outcome for this could be that, say, once we're on Mars, once SpaceX takes us to Mars, and we have Starlink on Mars with satellites and a capability for humans to interact with each other on Mars through that internet service, could Twitter be that platform, that long-term platform where humans are communicating communicating, where humans are passing information between each other, where humans can communicate between Earth and Mars, that unity of humanity between two planets. Could Twitter be just that platform? And that's Elon's long-term plan. Another possible reason is that Elon is just passionate about free speech, is that he thinks that Twitter is sort of shadow banning and removing folks that maybe he feels is not fair or doesn't uphold the true values of freedom of speech, and that Twitter is not abiding to the true principles of freedom of speech, especially in the United States. And what if this could cause somebody like, say, Donald Trump, who's a very, very, very controversial figure, to come back to the platform? Could the left wing of the Democratic Party now label an Elon Musk like an insurrectionist, right? Like with the January 6th events that happened in America back in 2021, could he now become a more polarizing figure, if you can believe that, than what he is today? And how is that going to impact his potential mission and the goals that he has for his companies? Could there be more blockades and different narratives and rhetoric that's pushed through the social media landscape or just the news landscape, especially in the United States? But what I believe is that ultimately this action reinforces the fact that Elon's not afraid to tackle the hardest problems on Earth. Making an electric car company like Tesla, especially during the time period in 2007 and 2008, where we had a massive recession, was surely a very stupid idea, but it was important and Elon got it done. Creating a rocket company from scratch, whose goal is to create reusable rockets that everyone deemed was impossible, was a stupid idea, yet Elon succeeded. And so Elon Musk now has this track record that really difficult problems are achievable. And if they're important enough for humanity, we need to make sure that we put a team together that handles that situation, that figures out how to solve that problem. Then the question becomes, does Twitter become part of that mission now from a free speech angle, or from a communications angle, or from a free flow information angle, or the survival of the species angle? Could this be a big enough issue where Elon thinks that if this is not dealt with, it could eventually lead to the downfall of the species? One of my favorite quotes is that if you want to change the future, you need to become part of it. You have to make actions that shape the future. So you create the future that you want to live in. And I think Elon is the perfect example of a person that takes this to heart. And ultimately, I think Twitter falls within this scope. There is a very, very big reason why this purchase was made. As the largest stakeholder, he's going to have a huge say in the future of how Twitter evolves as a company. And I'm both very excited to see what happens with it, but we should all look out for rocky waters when it comes to this. It's very rare that when you tackle such a huge thing like free speech, that it's going to be smooth sailing. Tesla was not smooth sailing. Take it from somebody that worked there for 4 years. It was not smooth sailing. It was extremely difficult. SpaceX had many failures before they became the behemoth that they are now. It is not an easy problem. And if Twitter does become that next big problem for Elon to solve, I'm confident that he'll figure it out. But it's going to get weird. It's going to be very, very hard. Ultimately, the discussion around freedom of speech and Twitter and how those two things coincide is a very important discussion. And as a species, I have confidence that we will figure it out. If you enjoyed this content, I would love it if you throw me a like. If you want to support this channel, I have a link to my Patreon in the description below, or you can click join right below this video. And if you're interested, I have a special link to Athletic Greens. Athletic Greens is a supplement that I take every single morning, which I really, really enjoy and I really, really trust. If you want to find more about that product, feel free to click in the description below. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Take it easy. Bye-bye.